So I decided about 2.5 weeks ago that I was going to put a push on to grow 50,000 Instagram followers in 30 days. Why that number? It's completely arbitrary. It just sounded like a big number. I don't really care about exactly 50,000 followers, but it's kind of one of these things where, hey, shoot for the moon, you'll land amongst the stars. Right? If I pick a big number, even if I don't hit it, I'm still going to be better off. I thought it would be fun to talk today, of course, about how I'm doing it and the tactics of how I'm doing it. I'm up about 13,000 followers now in about a week and a half or so. But I also thought that it would be valuable to talk about why I'm doing it and why having followers is important to me and why it may or may not be important to you. What an expert decides to do and what they tell you to do might conflict. And it doesn't mean that the expert is wrong. It doesn't mean the advice is wrong. It might mean that that expert's goals are different than your goals at any one point in time. My goals are not to generate business in the short term. My goal is to build an author platform. And I know that it's a much longer stretch, and I'm actually giving up a lot of financial rewards in the short term to do it. Maybe that's what you want to do. Maybe it isn't. But I think it's very important to have that conversation as well. So we're going to get into the tactics of how I'm doing it for sure. But I do think that I'd like to start with talking about why having followers is important to me specifically. And in that, we can open up a conversation when Amber of why it may not be important to the person listening, to whoever you are, you beautiful unicorn, you listening. You look so good today, Jennifer, Robert, Jason, Bethany. It's really hard to think of first names off the cuff.
We can definitely tell what generation you are based on the names.
I was like, is this the 90s?
All late 80s, early 90s, Bethany, Jennifer.
Named a 90s alternative rock band.
Yes.
Well,
tonight on the WB, you heard.
just call me
WB. Oh my God.
Just call me Hoobastank. Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
What a
I love
good
it.
call out. Okay, you redeemed yourself from yesterday's nostalgia trip.
Well done, Jonathan.
Right.
Did Dr. Allison teach you about Hoobastank?
No, if she were to teach me about music, dude, she would teach me about
R&B.
like Boys to Men and romantic R&B music, which I'm perfectly fine with if we're about to have sex. I'm not fine with any other time.
Generally. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll allow that, John.
Yeah.
Get a pass.
So what I'm doing is unique in terms of follower growth on Instagram in that the absolute number, assuming it's like a real follower, like not somebody bought, because I'm not buying any followers, assuming it's a legitimate follower and the right type of person, what I'm doing, the absolute number is valuable because, like I said, I'm building an author platform where the size of the platform and having a large distribution network and good optics actually matters. It's really dumb, but opportunities do open up for thought leadership platforms that have bigger social media pages. Basically, if I message somebody and ask them to participate in something, or I'm going to want to be on a lot of bigger podcasts come next year. It looks like I actually just got off the phone with my editor, which is why I was a little bit late. Sorry, guys. But it looks like the book will come out late January 2025. So when
nice.
January, February 2025, right, I want to appear on a bunch of big podcasts. So that gives me a year and a bit, right? Cool. Well, if I reach out to them or if somebody else reaches out to them, like a marketing team on my behalf, and I have a big social media platform, the odds that they will say yes go up exponentially. Because as much as a lot of the people who run those types of podcasts don't like to admit, but secretly would admit, the same as I would admit, when you're having a guest on your platform, it's not purely about the amount of value that they can give to your audience. It's also whether they will help you grow your audience. There's a combination of the two. And so when growing my Instagram, it becomes much easier for me to get on large podcasts, for example, when the time comes to promote my next book, to do collaborations, to involve people in the summits and stuff that we're hosting. It just becomes easier to reach out to people because the optics are there. Kind of dumb, because nobody can see an email list. Nobody can see trust within an industry. Nobody can see the value of somebody's name. Those things inarguably matter more. But the social media is what people see. So for some things, I do think that matters. For most businesses, though, the size of a social media account really doesn't matter. Like if I was trying to just build a coaching business, for example, I wouldn't be concerned about getting more followers. What I would be concerned with is going deeper with existing ones. There was a great post put up by, I think it was John Franklin. He runs a software called Kilo. It's like a gym owner management software. And he does a lot of marketing stuff with gym owners too. And he put up a great post about, it was a gym's Instagram page. And he was breaking down and he was talking about why the gym was so successful. And he goes, this is the gym's Instagram page. It's like a relatively big page for like a gym. The gym had like 7,000 followers, which like for a gym is like a lot of followers. Like the gym probably has a few hundred members, right? But he says the reason that they do well has nothing to do with their content and their follower count. It's because every single person who follows their account, they treat like they're a warm lead, which is entirely appropriate. Somebody follows your account, you are in business, you treat them like they're a warm lead. You ask them, like anybody else, you ask them what they're interested in. You ask them about their goals, their aspirations. You ask them what they're hoping to gain from following your page. And that's a consultative sales conversation. It's a respectful one. You're not hard pitching anything, but you're opening up a dialogue. And this gym opens up dialogue with everybody who follows that page. And even if it's like 3 people a day, 2 people a day, like those are 2 warm leads that you're then having as a conversation. I think that that's the right way to do it. I think that the numbers matter a lot less when you look at it that way. Mm-hmm. It's also really important to consider it's not quantity versus quality. It's quantity of quality. The goal is to build both. Now, I find it very difficult to go deep with a following at the same time as building a following. Maybe that's just the nature of how I do it, of how I create content these days. Maybe I'm just not skilled enough at creating content. I don't know what the answer to that is. But I find it very, very difficult to add requisite depth and help people really solve problems with content with the same pieces of content that actually build a following. So I actually think the best way to do this is a stepwise fashion, to take a predetermined amount of time, and it doesn't have to be that long. For me, I chose 30 days, but to take a predetermined amount of time and say, I'm dedicating this time to this goal, right? Like I'm dedicating this time to the goal of growing my followers that are interested in these topics. Okay. I might take the next period of time and decide, hey, I want to continue to grow followers, or I might take the next period of time and say, cool, I don't care if I add another follower for the next month. My goal for this period of time is to add tremendous value to the people who are already on this page. To me, it's kind of a stepwise fashion that way. And in having that conversation with myself beforehand, I don't run into the existential problem of, oh shit, like I haven't added a follower or my number on my following, on my whatever superficial following hasn't gone up today or this week. I'm a failure. The world is ending. Because ahead of time, I can be like, no, that's not what I'm trying to do. And it gets you kind of out of that trap. What do you guys, when you do a very good job at this, of, you're building not a huge page. Yeah, 2 thumbs. That doesn't get 1 thumb. That gets 2 thumbs. I think Amber gave a thumb. That's 3 thumbs.
2 thumbs up.
Amber gave 2 thumbs. That's 4 thumbs. That's as many thumbs as there are. Yeah.
All the thumbs, son. All the thumbs.
Yeah. but when you do a very, very good job of not building a big following, but instead building a very, very dedicated following and creating content that appeals to them, how do you think through this idea and use it to actually generate more of your business? Because you're doing good.
I love this question, and I love what you said, because I think I like to reflect back on the students first, because I know that's a good portion of the listenership here. And I think this is one problem that the students really have. They are on social media for the purposes of being on social media. So they can't use any metric except a like or a follow or a comment. Right.
Yeah.
And when you're doing this, you're supposed to be doing it for something. So I found that initially what I would do is I would break it up into weeks. And we talk about that a little bit in the Online Trainer Academy, where I would have 1 week where the purpose of me posting was engagement. And I did certain things that week to increase the engagement with the core audience that I have. And then 1 week I would do things, and it was just for education, to teach my core audience. So at a smaller amount of following, I think it's easy to be a little bit more nimble. The third week for me was like social proof week. And the fourth week, everything I did was for enrollment. But it made me thoughtful each week about why I was on social media. So the first week, engagement week, I was expecting more followers because that was the reason for me engaging. But the second week, when I'm educating people, I'm expecting more saves and shares. The third week, social proof, I'm expecting a little bit more. I'm expecting it to be a lot less responsive, because I'm choosing to tell them how great I am, and I'm not going to get a lot of response that week, but I'm not panicking because I understand what I'm doing that week. And then the fourth week of enrollment, and the fourth week of enrollment, I'm getting a lot more DMs. So I find that right now what I'm doing that switched from totally doing that is I'm trying to get entrenched amongst these women who are have expertise in the menopause transition. I'm 49. My clients are aging along with me. So I find myself trying to have conversations with people like Amanda Thede. I had a great DM conversation with Dr. Stacey Sims, Dr. Jen Gunter, who I have not connected with. She's just too big of an author for me. I don't have the juice to interact with her right now. But I want to be the guy on the stage at these conferences for midlife women and be the only guy. I want to be the Eminem in a sea of Black rappers, right?
But here's one thing that you said that I want to call out. You want to be the Eminem in the sea of Black rappers. Okay, we'll put a pin in that because I want to learn more about that.
Yeah, we'll circle back around to that.
Because you may, I don't know if you looked at yourself, but that's going to be difficult. But,
I can pull it off.
For those of you listening that have not seen Ren is black. That's the joke.
Yeah, I'm already black.
And so, I don't know, whiteface? Like, how do you accomplish that?
We'll circle back. Circle back to that.
One of the things you said there, though, is, you know when you're promoting that it's not going to be as engaged, whatever it is. But, like, here's how I want people to think about social media. It's like, say to yourself over and over, and I actually want to pin this to the top of my Instagram account at one point. That's literally like, I am on Instagram because it is a business.
Right.
I post here because I want you to buy things from me.
Right.
If I did not try to grow business, I would not be here.
Right.
I think we all just need to remind ourselves of that sometimes, don't we? Where it is perfectly reasonable for you to have a social media account that's purely fun. Totally cool. Have fun. Post whatever you want on there. But if you're using this thing because you hope that it's going to generate business, that's your goal. We keep going back to Goodhart's law.
Yeah.
When the measure becomes the goal, it ceases to be a good measure.
Mm-hmm.
The measure of growing more followers is not the goal. Right. Now, for me, it is in some respect, because it is a sign based off of what I want to accomplish in the next years. Literally, this book is not going to come out until the end of January 2025. And I've already been marketing the book for probably a year. So 2 years, 2.5 years, right? until I start seeing a return on any of this stuff. But that's what I'm doing. I don't really know why. It's just what I decided to do. It's probably not a smart business decision to do it, but it's what I want to do. I want to write books. But you have to understand that when you do market your thing, you're not going to have as much engagement. There's an Instagram account that I really like. His name's Amir. I've spoken to him a couple of times through like DMs and stuff like that. And his account is Beard the Best You Can Be. Mm-hmm. I like the account. I think he does a great job. He's a mobility stuff, but he's entertaining. He's funny. He does a very good job communicating through quick videos. Like basically, like he knows how to do short form videos to communicate his message, and he's built a big following. But he puts up testimonials, like marketing posts. And so this guy now has 1 million followers. Okay. 1 million followers. Unfathomable amount of humans. And his last marketing post he put up had 659 likes. So let's look at the percentage conversion to engagement on that. So his engagement conversion on that post is 0.0066%.
Sheesh.
That's not good. But his other posts have great engagement. And he understands that this is a business. Mm-hmm. And when you market your business, yeah, you're not going to have as much engagement on those posts. That's perfectly fine. He keeps doing them. And then he'll follow it with like more viral stuff, right? And then he'll go back to marketing it. But I think you just have to be okay with that. Like he had one of these. Yeah, 396 likes, 7 comments. He has 1 million followers.
Yeah.
Right? But then, 2 days later, he put a reel up that has 28,000 likes and 440 comments. Now, it's not a marketing reel, but you have to understand what you're doing and what you're trying to get out of what you're doing. And you have to stick to it. I don't know. I'd have to speak to Amir and ask him this. Maybe I will. Is it hard for you to put up those posts? Because you're so expecting every time you put up something to have this flood of social proof, of attaboys, of comments. Is that hard for you? Now, his page is so big that he's probably at the point where it's like, it just doesn't really matter. But one of the things that I've noticed and why I decided to do this like stepwise approach, right? Where I'm focusing on growth, then I'm focusing on depth, right? Is that momentum seems to be real. What I used to do a lot more hurt quite a bit because I build up momentum with a couple posts that were more sort of viral posts, follower growth posts, and then I'd break it where I'd put like a much more detailed story or much more detailed depth post that I know is not going to perform as well in terms of engagement. And I'm okay with that because I think that it's important for the people who are there and I think that they'll benefit from it and they like it. But it's not going to go viral. There's no reason for people to share it. But those in-between ones seem to really hurt momentum. Mm-hmm. And then it gets harder to build back up, which is why I decided, I was like, let's do an experiment. Because the key, it seems, is momentum if you're really trying to grow a page. One viral post performs well, right? But then you stack a bunch of other viral posts on top of one another and it seems to compound because all of them bring new people to the page. They look what else is there. They see other stuff. They're sharing it. They're interacting on it. And I've noticed that it's just pulled all of my material up more than it otherwise would be if I posted them one at a time. And maybe that's an algorithm thing where the algorithm flicks on somehow and it's like, hey, this dude has something to look at. And it immediately like puts my stuff in Explorer or puts my stuff to more people. Or maybe it's just what I said, that when you attract somebody, they check out more stuff. And so I think that momentum's, if you are looking to grow, I think that momentum does make a difference. But when you think about it, I don't know, anything on that? I want to get into like audience versus quality of audience a little bit, but anything on that previous subject?
I think what you're trying to talk about reminds me a lot of like bulk and cut season, right? For like health and fitness stuff. And same thing with like when you have a goal, right? You can't just show up at the gym, do things and kind of hope for the best, which is what a lot of people tend to do with their social media, right? Before you go to the gym, you're saying, okay, here's what I want to achieve. And then you create a plan around it, right? And then if you're in bulk season, you're not mad because you've lost, you haven't lost any fat. That's not the point of it, right? And so the same skill set that they already have applies here if they just switch the lens that they're using to look at the problem. Right. So that's kind of the first thing that comes to mind there. And then I think too, people are terrible at multitasking, right? How often do we say that? And not that you can't get bigger and lose fat at the same time, but it's a hell of a lot harder, right? And so there's just too many things to think about. And most people get way overwhelmed when trying to do more than one thing to begin with. So I think just giving yourself permission, let me focus on this one thing. Let me focus on follower growth, and then let me focus on, quality or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that just makes things a lot more simple. And even if it takes longer to get there, at least it's less stressful in the long run.
It gets your mind thinking a certain way and staying that way. Mm-hmm. I find that I notice things that align with what I'm trying to accomplish much more if I'm in that state for a while versus, my natural state is just to bounce between so many different things. Like Amber can attest to that. How many different things do I attempt to do and run? And I just accepted that that's just how I am.
It is. Yeah.
And that's fine. But it's like this endless fight of, man, why can't I just do one thing and be happy? And then it's like, I do one thing and I'm like, why am I not happy? Maybe I'll do 6 other things. And then Amber's like, I guess I'll pick up the pieces.
Yeah.
Thanks, Amber.
But that's why we work so well together. I think the same way. So I'm like, all right, let's go. It's fine. Whatever.
Yeah. So, audience versus quality of audience. You don't have to look very far to see a lot of pages in the fitness space with very low quality audiences. You don't have to look very far. Where you get these pages with hundreds of thousands, or even in some cases, millions of followers, where every single post has, 100, 200, 300 likes, a few smatterings of comments, and you go and check the comments, and most of them are spam comments. And I don't know what's happened there. I think it might be a combination of things. I think in some cases, maybe they bought a lot of their audience. Mm-hmm. I think in other cases, maybe they built their audience doing one thing and then flipped to another thing. And so the people who are there don't care. Or they did something notable somewhere else. One fitness shows, whatever. People came and found them and followed them, but their content was never anything to speak of. But they just did something notable somewhere else. So, they have a lot of numbers of people following them. A lot of what I was doing before I started this experiment in the last 6 months has been focused on depth. I've been doing a lot of deep storytelling. I've been doing a lot of really detailed posts. I've been trying to post basically essays on Instagram, just not the medium for it, but I was like, I don't give a shit. This is just how I want to do this. And I'm still going to do that. I still think it's valuable, but it absolutely stagnated growth. And I felt the effects of that, where there just wasn't a lot of new blood. There wasn't a lot of new excitement. There's not a lot of different things that I can talk about really well. A lot of different topics. I think I can talk about them in different ways, but they're the same types of topics. And so the people who had been there for a while had kind of heard me talk about these things the way that I like to talk about them. And so even if I put out a new post, it's the same kind of thing that I like to talk about. And so it was very much stagnated. And when the growth of social media accounts stagnated, growth of the email list stagnated, growth of our businesses stagnated a little bit as well. Not to the point where it became any kind of an issue, but we started to notice that just general excitement slowed down a little bit. Might have been the summer as well. But that was a lot of what kind of brought on all right, let's just do a period where we get a lot of new faces in there. And lo and behold, 2 weeks into this experiment, where there's been 10,000 plus new people on the page. Lo and behold, last week was the most bookings for my mentorship that we've done ever in a week. And it's like, there's just a lot more people seeing my face. So there is absolutely some benefit to that, so long as you don't forget to add value to at the same time. But like I said, I mean, trying to do both at the same time, it just doesn't seem to work for me. It's also just like, I don't know, I spoke about a little bit about, and Amber, I think your point was solid, where you're just like in the mindset of one versus another one. I think that's a very good point. But I also think what's important is just like, how much time do you have, dude? Like how much time do you have to sit there and think and plan your content? I don't know about you, but it feels like I got negative time sometimes. And so to think that I'm going to try to think of different types of content now over the course of a week and try to train my brain to create things in different ways just sounds hard. So this seems to work for me. I don't think I'm going to get to 50,000 new followers in 30 days. To be honest, I don't really care. I could stop today and I'd be happy because the experiment was successful. I was listening to a podcast on Leonardo da Vinci. And I'd read not his autobiography. I read his biography. He didn't write an autobiography. I read his biography. I can't say that I read every word of it. I skimmed his biography by Walter Isaacson, like 500, 600 page epic. And I listened to this podcast. And one of the things that was really notable about Da Vinci is that like he was arguably the most curious person to ever exist on the planet. But what he actually didn't finish or accomplish that much, he had tons of plans. Like he had inventions and he had drawings. He had inventions for like machines and he had drawings of like how the human body worked. That, I mean, hundreds of years later, they were like, yeah, no, he was right. But he was so obsessive at the same time. There's this one painting, I don't remember the name of it, but the way that he painted the musculature in the neck, they were like, how did he know that? Like, nobody knew that those neck muscles existed at that time. And then what forensics figured out later on was that he went back and revisited his painting 40 years after he originally did it to fix the muscles in the neck. Because he now learned like how. So this guy was clearly like obsessive and obsessively curious and obsessive over his work. The Mona Lisa he carried with him for something like 30 years. Like the person who he drew the Mona Lisa of never actually saw the painting because she died before it was finished. He carried it with him for decades. Listen. But what's particularly notable about him was that whenever he'd take on something, there would be a problem that he'd want to solve. He'd want to learn how something worked, or like in his diaries, he talks about the flapping of the dragonfly wings, and he realized that they flap backwards. And it's just like, how observant do you need to be to realize that a dragonfly's wings flap backwards? Right? But he was so obsessed with problems that the minute that he figured out he could solve the problem, he became completely disinterested to actually complete it. And then he'd move on to the next. And that resonates. It's just like, it's the process of knowing that you can do something is almost like that's got to be the enjoyment. And then bringing that thing to fruition, like it kind of ceases to become fun a lot of the time. And so that's how I feel a little bit with the social media experiment. It's like, okay, I know now, and I'm going to tell you like the tactics of how I did it. It's like, cool. I know now that I can do this basically whenever I want. Mm-hmm. I don't really need to do it though. So I don't know. I might stop, but we'll see what happens. Thanks, Leonardo.
The turtle or the...
Well, but, I mean, the turtle was based off of the guy.
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
if you know that.
I get him. Oh, there's a real guy named Leonardo. I didn't know that.
Him and Michelangelo
Very
apparently had beef, had like serious beef, because Leonardo da Vinci
Really?
was like, well, Leonardo da Vinci was by all accounts like a good-looking guy, like popular, had a social life, like was creative, and yet he was like artists hated him because he was like the most brilliant inventor who also happened to be the best artist of the planet, and like inventors hated him because he was like the best artist of the planet who like also happened to be the best inventor. And Michelangelo supposedly was this like tortured artist who was brilliant in his own right, but it like defeated him. He was just like, he didn't have any social life. It was like, it was his art and everything. And meanwhile, this Da Vinci guy is just like frolicking along with his buddies and like making better shit than him. But what was it? What's the famous one where they both did the paintings like across from one another, the Sistine Chapel or something like that? They were both hired to do paintings on like opposite walls to like pit them against each other to try to do the best. Yeah, that was fun. All right. I don't know. Want to talk about what we're doing with content?
We got you sidetracked with the
with the turtles.
With the turtles, yeah.
With the turtles.
Apparently, how did they paint with the three fingers? I don't get it. I love
you opposable thumbs.
Yeah, they have no opposable thumbs. How do they hold the brush or the side?
You know how many thumbs up they give you in? They give
Zero.
you 0 thumbs up.
Zero thumbs up. I like the idea of knowing what your content is for and what your social media is for at any given point. And I didn't even anticipate this. I didn't anticipate this clarity, but I see now how it's problematic for people who constantly ask me, what should I be doing for content?
Yeah.
It's past not knowing what your niche might be. It's just a holistic ignorance of the entire reason that you're on social media at all.
Right.
And if you don't know that, you're going to be disappointed. You'll spend most of your time on social media pissed off. If you think you're there for likes and follows and comments, like, you got no idea that you're winning or not. You're playing a game with no scoreboard or clock whatsoever.
Right.
You're just playing for the play of it.
Well, that's actually a good point. You know, the idea that there's no scoreboard. It's a very difficult problem to kind of think through, because you have to create your own score. Because the scoreboard that the social media platform gives you is a fucking shitty scoreboard.
It's theirs. It's their scoreboard.
Right. And you're not playing their game.
Right.
So you really shouldn't you really shouldn't be showing up for their game. You know, you're good at soccer. They're inviting you to play basketball.
Basically.
You could probably think up a much better analogy than that, right?
Well, you know, you're there for soccer. You're playing football. They're playing football. Like, each time you score, it's a point. Each time you score, football. It's a point. Each time they score, 6. There's no way to win. There's no way to win. Yeah. It's a terrible way to go into social media.
I think you do a better job than me. Giving an example on that.
That's right, man. You're doing fine, John.
Football
don't
versus
be like
football.
Is there you're doing a great job, John. And now
I decided the secret to consumer goods, by the way, like family consumer goods, like healthy, like shampoos and shit like that you're supposed to buy for your kids, is that if you put an umlaut over the U or the O, you can charge 2.5 times. That's the secret.
That's not actually wrong.
You basically pretend it's Swedish or Norwegian, and you can just charge a lot more.
The Swedes are so natural, though, John. You can hardly blame us.
Oh, that's the thing; they don't even need it. But
yeah, they don't need it. They just wash their hair in the rain. Swedes.
So, I mean, what I'm doing from a tactical standpoint to add a bunch of followers, if you decide to do that, it's like it's not fancy, it's not secret. But it's I mean, I've done one post a day, but really I would say 1 to 2 posts a day with a focus on purely viral content. What you are looking for is you're looking for the things that people who are in the know to be true, that frustrates them, that people not in the know are either confused or misinformed about. And so in the fitness industry, one of the big things that I talk about all the time, because I believe so deeply in it, is that, yeah, it's totally cool to work out for superficial reasons, but it goes deeper than that. And so what are stories to tell around that? Okay, well, why did my dad work out all those years? What did my mom do? Why do I still work out? Do I care about things like getting shredded, or are there other reasons to do it? What are things that people do all of the time that you're like, well, that's kind of not right that they do it, like endless amounts of cardio for people who want to lose fat. It's like, I think that cardio is immensely important, but I think it's overrated in terms of fat loss. So I'm not saying cardio is bad, but there's a lot of good reasons to do it that are probably not the reasons most people do it. And that's why a lot of them are frustrated. So what are those things with you, and how can you communicate them well? Then, so once I have those, I look for examples from other large accounts that post similar styles of content. And so in my case, it's like the Twitter style of content, but I look for other large accounts that post similar styles of content to the style that I do. And I go through, it's easiest on a desktop because you can just hover over and you can look at the engagement. And I hover over and I look for content of theirs that has outsized performance based off of the rest of their page. So I'm not looking for something that performs well, because everything they do might perform well compared to whatever your stuff does, because they're just a bigger page. What I'm looking for is the stuff that has outsized performance relative to their page. And then basically copy their style and format and put my own thoughts and my own ideas, emulating the hooks and the format of those posts. Because it's already a proven framework, right? You don't have to reinvent it. Mm-hmm. It's already a proven framework. And then rinse and repeat, right? There's not too much of it. Some of your stuff will hit, some of your stuff might not. Then, so you put that out to your audience, but 1 to 2 days after a post goes live, I'll go back into that post and I'll look at the reshares, because when it's first gone live, most of the people resharing it are your own people who are already following you. Mm-hmm. 1 or 2 days afterwards, the people who are resharing it are people who found it somewhere else usually. So we'll go through the post 1 to 2 days afterwards, and I'll view the reshares. So in the top right, when you click on your post at the top right, there's 3 little dots. You can click on that. And if there are current reshares of that post, you can click view current reshares. So you click on that, and what will happen, what will come up is everybody who's reshared your post, whether they tagged you or not. And I'll go through those, and 10 to 15 of them. I won't do more than 15 a day, because that's when you start potentially getting blocked or like slowed down by Instagram, and I don't want that to happen. But 15 a day, I'll click on it and I'll look if they're following me, and then I'll take a quick look at their account and make sure that they're the type of person who's right for my account. Like I had one super viral post that's like 400,000 likes. And so everybody and their mother shared that in every language, basically. There's like 100,000 shares on it. And in that one, I'm going through it and it's like, okay, this is like a makeup artist from Uganda. Like that. I mean, that's a real example. And so none of their stuff is in English and whatever. So that's not the right person for my page. So I'm not going to reach out to them. But I'll click on them and I'll look for people who aren't yet following me, who are the right type of person for my page. And I'll respond to their story and I'll say, first name, if I can figure out their first name. First name, thanks so much for sharing. Also, I'm curious. I noticed you aren't yet following my page. So how did you find this post? Because all I want to do is open up a dialogue. I'm not going to be like, hey, follow me. So how did you, show appreciation, ask them how they found the post. And I'd probably say like 60 to 70% respond, which is fine. And they'll always respond one of two things, right? Like, oh, a friend shared it. Oh, I'm not sure how I found it. Oh, it was on the Explore page. Oh, I think it was a sponsored whatever, which it's not, but like they might think that. And so then I just have the same types of responses usually. Like I'm having a conversation with them, but it's the same types of responses. So I'm like, the algorithm finally works in my favor, right? And then I'll like laugh. And then I'll just invite them to chat anytime. I don't ask them to follow my page or whatever, but most of them now will follow the page because often what happens is somebody will come across a post, they haven't seen me before, and they'll share it. They'll never even look at my page. But the minute you have a conversation with them, they click on the page. And so of the 15 people that I message every day, call it 5, maybe 6, 7 follow me. And I actually know for a fact that we've had mentorship students who I reached out to that way, who shared a post of mine. They had no idea who I was. They didn't follow my page. They would have been gone forever. I did this outreach to them. They followed the page. A few days later, I put out a call for the mentorship. They got on a call and they signed up, and they've been really successful with it. That's how much this outreach can be worth. But it's also just a good way to, like, after the fact, after you have something that does well, try to capture a little bit more out of it, like your job isn't done. And so doing this for 30 days, like that's it. Like that's all I'm doing. I can do a lot more. There's all the stuff. I mean, I won't name names, but there's all the stuff where people do like engagement pods and shit like that, where they have like a group of buddies where they have a Telegram group or a chat group, and everybody will put their post in that day, and you have to share everybody else's post in it, and everybody grows together, and it does work. I'd rather just not participate and grow slower. The people who did that a while back have grown considerably faster than mine in terms of following. But I don't know, man. It's just not what I want to do. Anyway, that's all I'm doing. Literally, that's all I'm doing. It's just a focus on that type of content. It's looking for already proven pieces of content, looking for their hooks, looking for their format, looking for their framing, putting my material into those proven format pieces, and then being focused for a predetermined amount of time with just that type of material so that it begins to build momentum upon itself, and then following up with people after the fact who share it but aren't yet following me. And so doing this for 30 days, it's enough for post to compound. It's not that much different, to be honest, from what I did before. The only difference is that it's just focused a lot more, as opposed to more scattershot, where there's this type of material that's meant to grow the page, and this type of material that's more for depth, and this type of material that's more for like conversion. It's just like, for this period of time, like we're going growth. Cool. Now we're going to go depth. Cool. Now we're going to go conversion. Cool. Right. So that's it. That's what I got.
I think what's important in this case is that people listening understand that you're still talking to people, right?
Yep.
Even when your post goes, most people are going to cut off all the effort when the post goes, post went viral. That's it. I won. I did it.
Yeah, right.
And then you don't generate very much difference in your business if you're there for business. You don't generate much difference there. And to your point, you don't really even generate a greater following, because people don't follow you because they've seen a viral post in most cases. I think people don't understand that either. Like 1 million people can see it and 2 people can follow you. But if you utilize the reach as a transportation, as a source of transportation to meet people in communities outside of yours. Let the viral bus take you to the other neighborhood, and then get off and shake some hands with a few people. Say, hey, I really like your neighborhood. Would you like to see mine? But most people just let it go viral, and then say, oh, I won. It went viral. It was great. The money should come rolling in any second. Any second now.
I will take the money now, please.
Yes.
Hey,
yes.
who's got two thumbs and wants lots of internet dollars? This guy.
Very nice. How much? And
how many internet dollars would you like?
Right. And that's not how it happens. So I love the fact that when John got to the end of the example, he said, and then I go look to see who shared it. And then I go look to see if they follow me already. And then I talk to them.
Right.
That's the important piece I think we miss a lot.
That's the most important piece.
Is that Calvin? Is Calvin here?
You want to come say hi real quick?
Yes.
He got stung by a wasp.
Oh, no.
Yeah, come sit with me. We're just about to end the podcast. Why don't you say it?
I got bitten by a wasp.
Oh, no.
Aw, buddy. That sucks. That really hurts.
That's not good news.
That's not good news. Okay, I'm going to recommend another episode and then hang out with Calvin for a little bit. If you're looking for another episode to listen to, this one should make sense. Episode 60, I'm going to recommend you check out. It's called The One About Content. We go deep into the different types of content. We go much deeper into philosophy towards content and how to use it. This one was more about this one thing that I'm doing. Episode 60 is more holistic view into how to think about and how to strategize your content. So that's episode 60, The One About Content. Okay, take care. I'm going to go hang out.
Bye.